Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of my favorite Norns scripts. Today I'm going to be talking about oooooo by Infinite Digits. oooooo is made up of 6 digital tape loops that can be manipulated in various ways. It can function as a looper, a delay, or even a chord sequencer. This is a very inspiring script and really powerful. I've actually made an entire project with just this looper function. The basic control scheme for this script is that encoder 1 will scroll between the loops, encoder 2 will select a parameter, and encoder 3 will adjust the selected parameter. When you're on the tape page, holding button 1 and pressing button 3 will record arm that track. Pressing button 3 again will start recording. To stop recording and start playback, release button 1 and press button 3. Pressing button 2 will pause playback. Pressing it again will reset the loop to its start point. The controls for each track are identical, so I'm just going to cover the controls for loop 1. The first control is the start point. This will offset the start but preserve the overall length. The next control is the end point. The end can range anywhere from 0.2 seconds to 78 seconds. By default, all tracks will be 8 seconds long. Next is the volume control. You'll notice that as this is adjusted, the position of the loop on the y-axis will move. Next is the rate. This can be adjusted from 12.5% to 400%. If you change the rate to a negative value, the loop will play in reverse. After that, we have the pan control. Positive values will skew the audio to the right output, and negative values will skew it to the left output. You'll see the value affected in the x-axis on the screen as it's adjusted. Next is the reset every beat control. This will reset the loop to the beginning every X number of beats. If 0 is selected, then the whole loop will play through. The final control is the warble. This will introduce a slight pitch wobble with encoder 3. With any of the controls in this menu, holding button 1 and pressing button 2 or 3 will activate an LFO with random parameters. You can hold button 1 and press button 3 again to turn the LFO off. Like I said earlier, all the loops have the same controls, but there is one additional set of controls from the main menu. If you scroll all the way down, you'll see an A in the top left corner. These are the controls for all loops. The first control here will pause all LFOs. The second one will randomize all parameters. The third one will randomize all loop lengths. The next one will randomize all LFOs. And the final one will toggle reverse for all loops. You can activate any of these by pressing button 3. oooooo has a pretty extensive parameters menu. I'm going to go in order. The first submenu is the startup menu. Toggling on load on start will load a preset when the script is launched. Play on start will toggle immediate playback when the script is loaded. Start LFOs random will randomize the LFOs when the script is launched. Start length will set the length of the loops on startup. Use color and use MIDI will enable those libraries if they are installed. The next submenu is the recording menu. First is the pre-level, which adjusts the input gain. Record level adjusts the record gain. Record threshold will set the minimum threshold for audio to be recorded. Record through loops will automatically record arm each loop in order after the end of the previous is reached. Stop record after will set the number of loops each track will go through before recording ends. This is really useful for capturing tails of certain sounds so the loop is smoother. Input type sets the input. The options are line in left, line in right, tape, line in left and right, end tape, and split left and right and tape. The final parameter in this menu is the sync lengths to first toggle. If this is enabled, all the following loop lengths will be matched to the first tracks. The next submenu is the save/load menu. This allows you to save the current state of the script, including all recordings and parameters, as well as recall them. After that, we have the all loop submenu. The first parameter is the pause LFOs toggle. This will stop all the LFOs. Destroy loops will set the probability that each loop will be destroyed per pass. Turning the probability up will give disintegration loops type quality degradation. Volume ramp will slew the volume changes instead of them being instantaneous. Randomize on reset will randomize all parameters every X number of beats. Reset all every will set the number of beats the loop will play before randomizing. The continuous rate toggle will preserve the playback rate when randomization occurs if toggled on. Slew rate will set the time in seconds for the rate slew. Tape warble is introduced in % here. This is similar to the warble that can be added from the main menu, except it will be continuous. Scale mode sets the scale of oooooo's mellotron mode, which is available from the grid as well as from the individual loop submenus. I'll talk about this more in depth later. Finally, we have the expert mode toggle. If this is activated, then you will only see the circles on the main screen. The final submenus are the loop menus. Like the tracks themselves, these are all identical, so I'm only going to be covering loop 1. The first parameter is the start control. This is the same control from the main menu. Next, we have the start LFO amp. This controls how much the LFO will affect the start point of the loop. Start LFO period controls the length between cycles of the LFO. Start LFO offset allows you to skew the direction the LFO will adjust the start time. Length is the same control from the main menu. The LFO controls here behave the same way the controls for the start LFO do. Next is the volume, which is available from the main menu, as well as the volume LFO controls. After that is rate, which has the control available from the main menu and the same LFO controls, but there are a few additional parameters. Rate adjust allows you to fine-tune your playback rate. Rate tone will transpose the loop according to the scale you selected in the all loop submenu. Reverse rate will flip the playback direction of the selected track. Next are the pan controls. These follow the same layout as the start, length, and volume controls. After that is the reset every control, which is available from the main menu. The randomize on reset control allows you to randomize the parameters on a track-by-track basis. Sync tape width will allow you to sync the length and playback with loops 2 through 6. After that are the filter controls. We have cutoff and resonance controls, as well as the same style of LFO controls for the cutoff. Next is the crossfade control. This will introduce a crossfade ranging from 1 millisecond to 1 second in length. Warble seed behaves sort of like an activity amount for the warble. At higher values, the warble effect will be more pronounced. This only affects the warble parameter available in the all loop submenu, not the momentary warble that is available on the main menu. The next 5 are all the recording and playback controls that are available from the main menu. Finally, we have the load audio option, which allows you to load in an audio file from Norns directly. After the loop submenus, we have the mode selector. This can bring up some different setups for oooooooo. Default gives you 6 mono tracks to work with. Stereo looping links tracks 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and 5 and 6 together to give you 3 stereo tracks. Delay will function as a multi-track delay. To activate the desired mode, navigate to the Activate Mode control below the mode selector and enable it with button 3. The final group in the parameters menu is the chord layering section. This is an incredibly cool feature and I highly recommend checking it out. When active, oooooooo will send MIDI notes to a connected synth and create layered chords. Infinite Digits explains the process by which the chords are created in his README. This sequencer will find the minimal inversions from the first chord and then rearrange the columns of each row so that there are minimal changes between the chords. Then it will go up or down in octaves each line to make sure the chord is padded out. This is a random process, so each time you run the script it is a little different. After the chords are layered, it plays random notes at random intervals and sounds melodic. It's fun to add lots of texture in each layer. Root note will set the root note. For chords 1 through 4, you can set what type of chord will be generated, either major or minor, and what scale degree that chord will be generated from. The octave section gives you some different choices of octave changes for each chord. Loops to record sets the number of loops ranging from 1 to 6. Solo probability sets the likelihood that random notes will be generated after the chords are recorded. The notes will be picked from the notes of the chord that is being soloed over. The final 2 controls here are for interfacing with Crow and the Teenage Engineering Pocket operators. Once you've set up the chords the way you'd like, you can activate the sequencer with button 3. Before I move on to the grid controls, I want to give a quick demo of how the sequencer works. I'm going to be sending MIDI to the OP1. The really cool thing about the sequencer is that since it records audio, you can adjust parameters on the synth and the changes will be written to the buffer. This opens up a ton of possibilities. It seems like the sequencer will only send MIDI to device 1, so I've set device 1 to OP1 in the devices submenu of the system menu. I've set the root note to D sharp 2, chord 1 to the 3rd, chord 2 to the 1st, chord 3 to the 6th, and chord 4 to the 4th. I'm going to be recording 4 loops, and I'm going to set the solo probability to 25%. Now if I hit activate, you'll hear it start to play. And I can adjust the parameters as it's recording. oooooo has extensive grid functionality with 6 pages of controls. This may sound overwhelming, but pages 3 through 6 all have similar layouts. I'm going to start with page 1, which is the loop page. This is the page that is displayed on launch. As always, the rows are 1 through 8 and the columns are A through P. Rows 1 through 6 correspond to loops 1 through 6. In any of these rows, you can press a button and then press another button to loop that segment. Button 7A will stop playback. Button 7B will start playback. Button 7C will arm recording, and recording will start when the threshold is crossed, and button 7D will toggle recording on. Buttons 8A through 8F are used to navigate between the different menu pages. Button 8G will arm recording for the macro recorder, and button 8F will play back the key presses. The next page is the mellotron page. Once again, rows 1 through 6 correspond to loops 1 through 6. I'm going to just cover the layout of row 1 since they are all identical. 1A will lower the pitch of the loop by 1 octave. 1B will raise the pitch of the loop by 1 octave. 1C will reverse the loop. 1D through 1P will transpose the loop by the scale degrees of the scale you selected in the parameters menu. Row 7 will adjust the slew for rate changes. 7P is the fastest rate and 7A is the slowest. The next 4 pages are all very similar. Page 3 is for volume. Page 4 is for pan. Page 5 is for rate. And page 6 is for filter cutoff. The layouts are all identical, so I'm just going to go over the volume page. Moving to the right will increase the value of the selected loop's parameter, and moving to the left will decrease it. You can create an LFO by holding one button on the grid and then pressing another. You can adjust the frequency of the LFO by selecting one of the buttons in row 7. As you move to the right, the speed increases. You can tell the frequency of the LFO by how quickly the light is blinking. Each track's LFO can have independent speeds. Like I said, all of these pages are identical, and the controls function the same way for each. The volume page will control the volume of the loop, the pan page will control the pan, the rate page will change the rate, and the filter cutoff page will control the frequency of each filter's cutoff. As I was editing the video, I realized I forgot to mention buttons 8O and 8P. Long pressing these will fully reset the focus loop. oooooo feels like a workstation more than a script to me. As I said in the intro, I made an entire album with it, and Infinite Digits has done the same. The script was actually created as a way to get polyphony out of the monophonic Chord monotron. Like organ, the grid integration for oooooo feels like a performance tool. Before working on this video, I never messed around with the chord sequencer, and it's in-depth enough to almost be its own script. In fact, Infinite Digits has a similar standalone script called acrostic. The fact that the chord sequencer is just casually tacked onto oooooo is really impressive. Like most multi-track Norns scripts, oooooo can seem intimidating at first, but once you get a handle on the functionality of one track, you'll be able to understand all of them. That's going to do it for today. Thanks for watching. If you have any topics or scripts you'd like me to cover in a future video, leave a comment below, and I'll see you next week.